that's a little bit the let's say the overview of the i3 support facility. And thanks, Maya, for putting the link in the chat. We'll anyway also later share all the information with you, also the email address of the facility. Now, on this webinar today, we have a first generation of projects that started in 2022, 2023, that are now ending or have ended actually in the last weeks. So we believe that many of you are now present today to hear about the requirements. And actually, it's not only for you, it's also for all other i3 instrument projects that have started or are running, because this will come at one point. It may even be interesting for applicants that are interested to and that would like to know what kind of requirements they will have to face in the, in case they get funded. So the special challenge here is that i3 is new, still in the funding landscape. We haven't finalized any i3 report yet. We are almost having the first one now being finalized now. So there's no experience really with that. And we thought it's a good moment to make a special session today for this. So it is important because it's part of the reporting requirements that you at the end of the project show to us how you spent the funding, but also what you achieved with it, because that's why we do it for. What's the impact in your region? And so reporting is indeed a challenge. We all know, and most of you know, that we are facing the challenge of the detailed reporting table, which is, if you're used to Horizon Europe as funding scheme, is more complex than for Horizon. Based on this, let's say, rather negative feedback, we are currently considering how to make the system easier in the future, not for the running projects, unfortunately, but so we are thinking about, and this is also policy feedback. We learn from it, and we want to see how we can make life easier for beneficiaries and applicants. And also, we have i3 specificities that are not present in other funding programs. That's why we do this webinar today. I want to say that by the end of the year, we will be producing a Q&A document, a reporting document that will be available for running projects, so that it will help them to prepare their reports. This will be a living document. And we also rely on you to give us feedback whether you think things should be changed or better explained. So we use this webinar today also as an input to this Q&A document that will hopefully be first version available at the end of the year. So it's a pleasure for me today to introduce you to the session that will last until 12:30. There will be a part on financial reporting requirements, and then one on the technical and operational part. There will be question and answer sessions after each block. As I said, we expect to finalize it at 12:30. So as last logistical points, I would like to mention that if you have any questions, please put them in the chat because you are muted. You can imagine that we have now almost 100 participants, that if anybody would cough or say something, then it would become quite a complicated webinar. So that's why you're muted, but put your questions in the chat, please, and we will follow up. So without further ado, I would like to introduce the colleagues now that will do and run this webinar. I'll start to introduce the colleagues from the financial unit in IZMEA, and that's Anna Batra and Jana Dobiasova. And I think they are both online. And I think Anna, I see you in the screen, so I guess you will start, right?
Wrong.
Okay.
It's me,
50% chance I didn't get it. Thank you, Jana. You have the floor.
Thank you. So good morning, everyone. So as introduced by Eric, me and my colleague Anna will now introduce the financial reporting requirements for your projects. I will first point out a few reminders regarding the legal basis and sources of information when it comes to the periodic reporting and payments and some theory, and Anna will then take you through the template of the detailed cost reporting table in more detail. Next slide, please. So firstly, I would like to direct you towards the datasheet of your grant agreement, and namely point 4.2 relating to periodic reporting and payments. And secondly, to articles 21.2 and 22.3 of the core text of your grant agreement. So these are the basic sources where you should go when you look for immediate information about reporting. And of course, then the more detailed explanations in these relevant articles in the annotated grant agreement, which will be linked at the end of the presentation. Next slide, please. So when it comes to the modalities of payments throughout the life cycle of the project, normally you first received a pre-financing payment of maximum float of 70% of the maximum grant amount. And here it is very important to keep in mind that this amount remains the property of the EU until the payment of the balance for your project. And the final payment is then paid to you latest 90 days after submission of the periodic report. And it is calculated as the total accepted EU contribution, limited to the maximum grant amount, and with a reduction, if applicable, due to the no profit rule. The balance is then the final grant amount minus pre-financing in your case, because I think in the cost that we are covering today, mostly there was no interim payment. And if the final amount is positive, it is sent to the coordinator's bank account, who then has to redistribute any pending payments without unjustified delay to the other partners in the consortium. Next slide, please. So some basic requirements of the periodic report are that it has to be submitted latest 60 days after the end of the reporting period, and it has to include three main elements for us. So these are the financial statements, the detailed cost reporting table, and again, where applicable, the certificate on the financial statements. So the financial statements are submitted for all beneficiaries, and they are automatically generated by the system once you fill in the data in the portal. The detailed cost reporting table is, as Eric suggested, where we struggle a little bit. It's this complicated Excel that we will be introducing in detail today. And this has to be also submitted for all beneficiaries and all affiliated entities. And unlike the grant agreement preparation stage, this reporting table does not include any consolidated sheet at project level. So it's really individual tables per beneficiary or affiliated entity. However, please always keep in mind that you need to ensure that the data matches between the financial statement and the detailed cost reporting table. And also, where applicable, the report will include the certificate on financial statements, as I said. And again, the data needs to match between what is in the certificate on financial statement and in the actual financial statement or the detailed cost reporting table. Next slide, please. So on this slide, we are just showing you what you are filling in the portal, how the financial statement looks on your side. So this is where you are filling in the different amounts for the different cost categories that were incurred for your project. And this then automatically generates the document that we are assessing. Next slide, please. As I said, the second main requirement of the financial reporting is the detailed cost reporting table, which we will go through in detail in a moment. But here we clarify which template you should be using. So the template depends on the co-funding rate of your call, because the first calls for I3 had 70% co-funding rate. There was a call that had 100% co-funding rate. So we explain here which call should use which template. Do not get confused, because there are, you see on this print screen on right side, there are two templates: detailed cost reporting table I3 FSTP 70% and detailed cost reporting table I3 FSTP 100%. In principle, I think for the calls that we are mentioning on the slide, you would always be using the first one, the one with the 70%. However, you will be encoding manually the co-funding rate at the end of this table, which Anna will show you. But just don't get confused by this 100%, because for the cost that we're covering today, there was a single co-funding rate for all the cost categories. And so you should be using this first template, and you see it in this green part of the table that it says single funding rate. So that applies to these calls that are mentioned on the slide. Next slide, please. So when it comes to the certificate on the financial statements, it is required if the threshold at beneficiary level is reached. This threshold is the requested EU contribution, which should be above 325,000 euro. In that case, you are required to have a certificate on the financial statement drawn up by an auditor. You should keep in mind that costs related to drafting and submitting the final report are eligible even if they are incurred after the action duration, and this is also relevant for the costs of the certificate on the financial statement. And another thing where we sometimes run into difficulties is that you always have to use the latest available template, or the auditor has to use the latest available template, which is on the portal. Of course, if there is a change of the template in between when they started drafting the report, then of course you use the one that you have started using, but it should be, let's say, a version that was available in the last few months. Next slide, please. So the certificate on financial statements has to be drawn up, as I said, by an independent auditor, or for public bodies, it can be a public officer, but a public officer that is not involved in the preparation of the financial statement. The certificate on the financial statements has to be uploaded as a scanned copy, as a PDF, together with the financial statement. And it is important that it includes all these three parts. So the terms of reference, the agreed upon procedure checklist, and the agreed upon procedures report. In the template, it is specified that the terms of reference have to be dated and signed by both the auditor and the beneficiary. The checklist has to be signed by the auditor and dated, and the report has to be dated and signed by the auditor as well. This is, again, very important, and it is also very important that the auditor does not change anything in the template, because otherwise we would have to return the certificate back to you. Next slide, please. So I already mentioned some of the reasons why we would return the certificate back to you, but here we go in a little bit more detail, because this is really very, very frequent mistakes of the auditors, that they do not fill in correctly the amounts, especially in the report. So we highlight here where we usually see the mistakes, that they really need to encode actual costs where the template is asking about actual costs. They need to encode flat rates where it's asking about flat rates, etc. So perhaps before or while you are contracting an auditor, it would be good to point this out to them, because we really see this in almost every certificate that this is wrongly filled in. The amounts covered by the certificate should absolutely match the amounts that are reported in the financial statement. This would be another reason for us to reject the certificate. Another reason for rejection is that the checklist is not filled in properly. This means that, for example, for a cost category that is not applicable to your project, we find there a yes or a no. So we are not sure afterwards how the auditor filled in the checklist, and we need to be asking questions, and this would extend always the process. And as I said, the missing signatures. So another, I mean, administrative technicality, but it is important that these are all filled in properly according to the template. Next slide, please. Here we inserted a slide on budget flexibility because it is important for you to know that the budget breakdown may be adjusted without amendment by transfers between participants and budget categories, as long as this does not imply any important change to the description of the action in Annex 1. What this means in practice is that you can, of course, be moving some sums of money and between cost categories and participants if it is a large amount, or if you have doubts, then you contact your project officer and we discuss and we let you know. But there are many instances where amendments are not needed for transfers. However, what you should keep in mind is that additional amounts of subcontracts that are not provided for in Annex 1. So this should, in principle, go through an amendment unless they are approved at reporting by the project officer. However, the project officer always needs to be informed in advance of these changes. You can, again, this is available in Article 6.2 of your grant agreement, this information, so you can have a look there for more details. Next slide, please. On this slide, we're simply listing the cost categories that are relevant for your particular calls and project. So you should know that these are in principle the cost categories where you will be where you incurred normally, or you are now declaring costs for. There are no other cost categories that are relevant for your project. I'm not going to be reading them, you are aware of them, but it's just a reminder, because this changes also from call to call or from project to project. Next slide, please. So now I will just introduce some basic instructions on how to use the template for the detailed cost reporting table. And as I said, my colleague Anna will then take you through in more detail. Next slide. So you should not be too scared of this template, because you have filled in a similar template at the grant agreement preparation stage. They're really structured in the same way. So the template is also composed of 4 sheets: instructions, start, detail table, and consolidated, but it's calculated automatically. So it's per participant calculated automatically. And you must use these sheets of the Excel table in this order to create your detailed cost reporting table. So as we said, you will need to submit 1 table per beneficiary and affiliated entity as part of your periodic report. It needs to be uploaded as a single PDF directly in the system. It says here that you might be asked to send the corresponding Excel version by email. It rarely happens, but of course, we never know. Every report is different, every situation is different. As I said also before, contrary to the detailed budget table that you were filling in at the grant agreement preparation stage, the cost reporting table does not contain estimated costs. So you need to really declare costs that are actually incurred. And here you should keep in mind that you need to declare incurred costs also if they go above the estimated budget. So all costs that were incurred for the project and are eligible for the project. Just a small tip, that the white cells in this template mean that you are required to enter data, and the blue cells are calculated automatically by the Excel. Next slide, please. One particularity of this table is the exchange rate conversion. So if you have beneficiaries that do not have their general accounts in euro, they will need to convert the costs recorded in their accounts into euro. There are 2 links that you see on a print screen on the slide. There are 2 links on the top of the detailed cost reporting table template. And depending on which currency we are converting from, you will need to use the link. So you would first check whether your currency is in the ECB website. where it is then relatively easy to convert because you just put the dates of the reporting period and you get the average conversion rate, and that's what you use in the template. However, if your currency does not appear in the ECB website, then you have to calculate the average monthly exchange rate and then make the average for the whole reporting period. Basically, here there's also, yes, I mentioned that beneficiaries with general accounts in euro must convert costs that were incurred in another currency into euro according to their usual accounting practices. So this we do not check. This you need to convert based on your usual accounting practices. And important thing that currency exchange losses are ineligible costs. So you cannot declare currency exchange losses and claim them to the project. From me, this is all, and my colleague Anna will now go through the details of the detailed cost reporting table and the different cost categories. Thank you.
Thank you, Jana. So I will continue from now on, but before going more deeper into each cost category, I would like to remind you that at the beginning we didn't mention, Jana a bit mentioned the bank account, but you need to be aware that in case your bank account has changed in the meantime, or from when you received the last payment for this project, you need to update it in the system, and to update it in the system, there has to be an amendment. So just please be mindful of this. In case your bank account has changed, you need to introduce an amendment immediately. Okay. Okay, let's go into each cost category. So we start with personal costs. It is one of the biggest cost categories within this project. Therefore, it's very important for you to know how to correctly claim these staff costs. In principle, the instructions are explained in Article 6.2 of your grant agreement, but we would really like to invite you to go to annotated grant agreement, where you have a big section explaining all the calculations that are necessary, including relevant examples which might help you understand these calculations. So, in principle, as you remember, at the grant agreement preparation, we estimated the monthly rates for each person working plus the number of the person months. What changes here in the detailed cost reporting table is that, and it's a requirement of the grant agreement, that you will have to calculate a daily rate for each person working on the action and declare number of day equivalents worked on the action according to their timesheets. These number of day equivalents worked on the action have to be always rounded to the nearest half day. Please respect this, because we cannot accept unrounded day equivalents. So how to calculate the daily rate? In principle, you will take the actual personal cost which you incurred for each person during the months within the reporting period, and then divide them by maximum declarable day equivalent. Maximum declarable day equivalents, there is a formula very nicely explained in annotated grant agreement, but in principle, you will calculate it as 215 days divided by 12 months, multiplied by the number of months during which the person is employed during this reporting period, and then multiplied by the working time factor. The working time factor means whether the person worked full-time, part-time, half-time. So then you will multiply it accordingly. What is important for you to know is that either what is the most common case, that the daily rate should be calculated per person per reporting period. So you will present one daily rate for each person working on the project during this reporting period. But there is also a possibility to declare the daily rates for each calendar year. It means that the person would have, for example, 2023 one daily rate, 2024, but these must be clearly kind of referenced in the detailed budget, detailed cost reporting table, and it must be consistently applied in case there are more reporting periods. But in this case, I think there is only one reporting period, so this will be up to you to decide if you go for one daily rate or daily rates per calendar year. So for each person who works on the action, you will have to kind of prove the time spent on the action and how. It can be either by presenting or signing a monthly declaration or day equivalence work on the action. In principle, this is a template which is available at Funding and Tenders portal, which you can use. And it's a very simple template in case you do not have your own template, or of course, you are allowed to use another paper or computer-based reliable time recording system to record all the time worked on the action. In principle, for the personal cost, you must include only eligible remuneration costs for these persons. You must ensure that the remuneration is in line with your usual practices. So you cannot use any budgeted, standard, estimated, or fixed rates when you calculate the personal cost. Remuneration must be always supported by evidence, payroll, salary slips, employment contracts, and it should be paid in accordance to national law, collective labor agreement, or employment contract or equivalent appointment act. So be very careful to have all the evidence in case there is audit. Okay, I told you about the timesheets. Yes, and be aware that the timesheets, they must match the records of annual leave, sick leave, and other types of work-related travel and leave. And you cannot claim hours or days during absences in case there was a sick leave or holiday. Okay, next slide, please. So this is how it will look like in the detailed cost reporting table. You will have, you can have 4 types of subcategories for personal cost. These are the employees, natural persons with direct contract or seconded persons, and the SME owners or natural persons without salary. As you can see, the table obliges you to use the daily rates. Therefore, you will include the daily rate plus the rounded time equivalent spent on the action for each work package. Regarding the SME owners, you must include the name of the SME owner, because as you remember at the grant preparation stage, we were asking if you already foreseen that there will be an SME owner working on the action to provide the name and to confirm whether he's a kind of direct owner of the SME. So in this case, if you will report some unforeseen cost as SME owners, we will ask you to do the same. So if you can, please provide this confirmation already in advance together with the name so we can check it. Okay, next slide. And this is the second part of the table. In principle, normally you should fill in all the details which are required by you, such as the work packages. Please provide description always. It can be really brief, but it has to be there so we are able to identify the person and what were the tasks. Period of activity. It can be either the full reporting period or depending how many months the person worked on the work package or on the action. Date of payments. As you see, the table suggests you that you can just put such as the person is remunerated every 30th of each month. And accounting reference, here you can just put simply payroll or payslip. Next slide. Regarding subcontracting costs, you will have to provide evidence that the principle of the best value for money, transparency, equal treatment has been respected when selecting suppliers. In principle, you will not have to provide it to us unless you are asked for it, but you always have to keep in mind this in case of an audit. This is the first requirement for subcontracting the auditors will check. And in principle, how you can demonstrate it is that you must prove that you kind of did the subcontracting in line with your internal procedures, you follow them, and that the subcontracting tasks were carried out. Okay, you must avoid any conflict of interest when you award contracts. And regarding public authorities, you have to follow the national rules of procurement, and the private entities have to follow their own rules and procedures. Next slide. The subcontracting part in the table will be again divided as per work packages. We would like to ask you to provide as a subcontract short name. You can use the number of the task and the description of the task, because as you know, subcontracting are action tasks described in Annex 1 part B, description of action. Therefore, please help us to kind of find a reference, which subcontractor was it and which task it is related to. Here you can put an invoice reference. Subcontracting costs have to be always declared as costs actually incurred. And then again, you have the same as for the personal cost. Whether it was also included in other work packages, yes or no. Please provide a description of the task performed, again, to help us understand better which task and which subcontractor worked on what. Name of the subcontractor, please provide it as well. Again, period of activity, you can put a reporting period or duration of the work package. Date of payment, invoice number, and accounting reference. Regarding the accounting references, please keep in mind that all the costs claimed have to be identifiable and verifiable. So it is in your interest to provide accounting reference, which will help you, us, and the auditors to reconcile kind of the specific transaction or accounting record with the supporting documentation and kind of how it is encoded in your recording. Because in case you have an audit in few years after finalization of the project, you will not remember all the records and references, and it will be very helpful for you and for the auditors. And maybe here I would also mention regarding the subcontractors, because often there are some kind of deviations in what has been estimated and what has been reported. So in case, for example, you use a different subcontractor or there is an increase in subcontracting costs compared to what was foreseen, you must provide the justifications or explanations in the technical report. And also subcontracting must be declared as unforeseen in case the task is not in line with Annex 1. For example, there is a new task or a description does not match. In such case, also please provide explanations in the technical report. There is a specific, my colleagues should explain, but there is a specific table for subcontracting of unforeseen costs, which we would like you to fill in case you have this kind of changes in the subcontracting costs. Next slide, please. Travel and subsistence. This is also kind of a new, maybe new experience for you because as you remember, most of the projects, especially from these costs, we have still budgeted under actual costs. But what has changed is that you will have to report unit cost, even if you have incurred actual cost, as this is a requirement of the Commission decisions. So in this case, the calculations for, you will always have a travel, accommodation, subsistence. For the travels which are necessary under action, planned in the description, supported by relevant documents, and made following the usual practices of the beneficiary. So, how you calculate the travel cost? Normally, you will have to use a flight or rail calculator, which has been provided and also linked here in the presentation. So, in principle, to calculate the distance between departure and arrival point, and depending on that you will choose the respective distance band. For accommodation subsistence rates, these rates are fixed in the Commission decision, and unfortunately we cannot accept actual cost. We have to use the ones which are fixed for each country. Accommodation, you will declare number of nights spent on travel, and subsistence rates are normally for 24-hour period. There is also a possibility to declaring actually incurred costs, but these are very particular situations and instances of travel which are not defined in the EC decisions. Next slide. So in this slide, we have listed all these exceptions for which the actual cost can be declared, and they are not covered by the AC decisions, but as you can see, they are very limited. So this is travel under 50 kilometers by land, mostly by car or public transport, travel between 50 and 399 kilometers in a third country, travel between 50 and 399 kilometers between the member state and the third country, and then land travel between 50 and 399 kilometers in Luxembourg, Cyprus, and Malta. This is the reason why the table allows you to encode both actual costs or unit costs. Next slide, please. And in principle here, you will see that on the left side of the table, there are fields for actual costs, and on the right side of the table, unit costs should be declared. In principle, we would like you to put the name of each travel, such as the name of the meeting, event, dates, for example. It will help us to identify the costs and kind of link it with activities which are presented in the technical report or deliverables. Next slide. Yeah, what is the most important part here for us is that you fill in the description. Otherwise, it is very difficult for us to assess the costs which you claimed for travel. So we would like to kindly ask you to provide always the departure and arrival points, whether the means of transport, plane, rail, for example, or private car. Then the number of persons traveling, number of nights of accommodation claimed, and the number of days of subsistence claimed. It will really speed up the assessment, and if you provide all this information, we might not need to come back to you at all for this kind of cost in case it is declared correctly. Next slide. And here we provided you some kind of very simple example how it should look like when you declare unit costs only. So you can see that, for example, it was an annual conference in Spain, and they have filled in all the necessary details which are enough for us to be able to assess these costs. So this you can see for yourself, and in case you have any questions. We also invite you to go again to annotated grant agreement. There is a big section on travel costs, unit costs, and we have noticed that this document is always kind of being updated, so they are adding new specific cases for travel, new interpretation, which will help you to understand the rules better. So I would also invite you to have a look before starting to fill in the travel costs. Next slide. Equipment costs. Purchases of equipment, infrastructure, and other assets are eligible if they are declared as depreciation of costs. They must be calculated as actually incurred costs, written off in according to the beneficiary usual accounting practices. What is important is that only portion of the cost that corresponds to the actual use during the action duration can be declared. Costs for renting and leasing equipment are also eligible if they are not higher than depreciation costs for similar equipment and they do not contain financing fees. So in case you will declare costs for renting or leasing, we will ask you to confirm that these conditions are met. As regard the equipment costs, often we notice that beneficiaries confuse equipment with indirect costs because for action costs, you receive indirect cost 7% flat rate, where the basic equipment of your offices is normally covered. Therefore, we are quite strict with equipment costs which are declared. We only accept a specialized equipment which is really necessary for the action, and kind of such as ordinary laptops, software, as Microsoft Office or printers are normally covered by the 7% flat rate. So we do not consider it as equipment. Next slide. The detailed cost reporting table. Please always provide the name or a kind of identification of the equipment, which will allow us to check whether the equipment was foreseen already at the grant preparation stage. Again, there is invoice price. You will put the full price of the equipment, then depreciation method according to your internal rules, such as, I don't know, for some specialized laptop, let's say, be 24 months, number of months allocated to the action. For example, if you used it for 12 months, then you put 12, and the rate of use, whether it was 100%, 50%, this is up to you to kind of provide this information. And in the second line, you see the renting and leasing. Again, similarly, you will have to put the monthly rent and fee, number of months of use for the action, and whether it was used 100% or less. Next slide. Yes, these are also compulsory fields. Please provide as much information as you can. Description, mostly for what this equipment was used, name of the supplier, date of purchase. It is very important for us if you could correctly fill in this period of use, because we see many times that there is a mistake kind of that the beneficiaries consider that, okay, we put the full project duration, but then there is a discrepancy with the number of months declared or used for the action. So these information should match so we can check whether everything is kind of correctly declared from your side. Next slide. Then there is other goods, works, and services. Here I would like to bring to your attention also that for other goods, works, and services, it is you will have to similarly demonstrate in case there is an audit that you comply with the best value for money principle, because it considers the acquisition of goods and services, and this can be either subcontracting or other goods, works, and services. You have different subcategories which you can declare the cost for, such as consumables, conferences, seminars, workshops, trainings, events. Here you can put catering cost, room rent cost, etc. Everything what is related to organization of the events and information and publications. Such as printing of, I don't know, some leaflets or some promotional materials. Then we have other expenses. Here, what we see, there is a mistake between kind of bank fees. Normally, bank fees are only if you have been requested to provide pre-financing guarantee, but I think that's probably not even the case for any of the projects. And then there is audit fees, CFS. So here you can only declare the cost for the certificate of financial statement. No other audit fees are allowed to be declared in this cost category. Next slide. Yes, and this is the continuation of the table. Again, please try to provide the descriptions, period of use, date of payment, invoice, and accounting references. Next slide. FSDP, financial support for third parties. These costs are eligible if they are payments. It means it has to be a financial kind of transfer from the beneficiary to third party. They must be declared as actual costs incurred. And they are eligible if they are based on objective and transparent selection processes, procedures. They must be implemented in accordance with the conditions set out in Annex 1 and include the conditions set in Article 6.2. The maximum amount for each third party of recipients of this financial support is 60,000 euros. And at the reporting stage, you will need to list the FSTP recipients and the amounts they received in the dedicated portal, dedicated tab in the portal, which we will kind of check with the amount declared and in the detailed cost reporting table and the financial statement. For example, you will have the chance also to provide comments. I see often from my other project, if there is FSTP, and for example, some recipients receive less money than initially they were awarded, it is a good practice to put a comment to explain why was this the case. Next slide. Yes, the detailed cost reporting table. Again, for FSTP, don't be confused because you will have both cost category, both type of cost available, actual cost and unit cost. For you disregard the unit cost. You will use the actual cost. Please provide the support scheme short name, which will allow us to identify it again with Annex 1, description of action. And you can put kind of a comment. You do not need to list the full number of the third parties and amounts they received, because this information is in the portal of the tab or in the technical report, and you can just write some very brief description. And also, it's maybe difficult to fill in this date of payment, invoice number, accounting reference. Maybe you will not even have an invoice number. You will just kind of, you can put some general, I don't know how you identify it in your accounting. Date of payment, also you can just refer to some, I don't know, accounting records. Next slide. Yes, so indirect costs, we have also already mentioned to you, which are calculated as a flat rate, 7% applied to specific direct costs, but only to the costs which are eligible, of course. In case there are some ineligible costs which we identify, you will not receive the indirect cost to that cost. But in principle, you do not need to kind of prove that these are the indirect costs. Not even auditors will not ask you to provide any proof of the indirect costs. And then we have the EU contribution. As my colleague has already explained, you will have to use the template with a single funding rate. So you will input it manually, whether it was 70% or 100%. The table will automatically calculate based on all the data inputted in the table, the maximum grant amount, a maximum EU contribution, and then please fill in the last field, which is requested EU contribution, and it must match the requested EU contribution, which is provided in the financial statement as well. Next slide. Here is kind of a summary table from which we identified the mistakes from another reports, which have kind of a similar detailed cost reporting table. And these are the most frequent mistakes for which we actually have to always ask for some clarifications or reject for correction. As I have already told you, it is very important that you provide the details in description fields. It will really speed up the process for us and to process the payment. And the less questions we need to then ask, of course. Then often we see that there are discrepancies between amounts reported in the detailed cost reporting table and financial statement. Again, we need to raise this question. We need to ask you to clarify why the amount doesn't match, whether there is some ineligible cost or you forgot to encode something. So again, another round of questions can be avoided. Often the beneficiaries forget to provide justifications for deviation in declared costs in technical reports. It is very important that you look at it. It's a final payment. Therefore, we need explanations on what went different, why the costs were less or more, what has happened in your project, and that you document it in the final report. For personal costs, I have already mentioned to you that the day equivalents are mostly not rounded up or down to the nearest half day. It's an issue because this is specifically mentioned in Article 6.2. Therefore, please take it into account when you prepare your reports. Also, what we see that beneficiaries do not realize that they have to provide only either one daily rate for the full reporting period, or, as I explained, at annual basis. Regarding subcontracting, often the new subcontracts, which we call unforeseen subcontracts, are not mentioned in the technical report in this subcontracting table. Then equipment, often we see here that the beneficiaries do not realize that they declare just the duration of the project as the kind of internal rule for the depreciation of their costs, which is not correct. You always have to follow your internal rules and procedures regarding the depreciation of equipment. And also period of use often does not correspond to the number of months declared for depreciation of the cost. And regarding travel cost, what we see is that beneficiaries are confused. They kind of include incorrect unit costs. There are discrepancies in the information, especially if they, I don't know, claim 2 nights for accommodation. However, in the description, they put 3. So again, this needs to be clarified, or if it's a mistake, yeah, we can either reject it or we proceed with less. For example, in case you made a mistake, you wanted to claim 3, but you claimed only 2. So please be aware of this as well. And also many beneficiaries still doesn't want to kind of declare a unit cost. However, here we really don't have any choice. It has to be declared as unit cost, not as actual cost for 95% of the travels. Next slide. And as Jana has mentioned already, here you have all the useful links to the annotated grant agreement, to the online manual, how to prepare your reporting and payments, the unit cost for travel, as well as the templates, the link to the template of the detailed cost reporting table and certificate on financial statement. Next slide. Yes, and this is our final slide. We would really like to encourage you to submit the reports the best and prepare them the best as you can. Of course, we are learning at the same time like you are learning, and it's never a big issue in case something has to be corrected. So do not be worried or scared. And if you are really unsure, please ask questions to your project advisor, who will always consult the financial officers, and we will try to help you and guide you how to fill in the tables.
Many thanks, Anna and Jana for this very clear and also very to the point presentation. I think we are ahead, or we are not. We're just on time, I think. If I see the timing, I think we had set 10:30, so we are 50 minutes ahead actually. So many thanks for that, and so we have plenty of time for the Q&A session. I took notes so that we try to categorize a little bit the different questions. So please stay tuned, Anna and Jana, for this. Now the last questions I haven't categorized, but I'll start with the ones I had done before. And the first one, of course, actually is one that concerns, let's go by category. Yeah? So the personal costs. We have one question that is, we need to inform all the partners to create this monthly declaration already during the whole time of the project, or for each month? That would be the first question.
Well, it's not compulsory to use this monthly time. I mean, the template which is provided at the tenders of portal, you normally should have had some timesheets already from the beginning of the action. It doesn't mean that it has to be this exact template. You can also have your own kind of recording system for the time spent on the action. So this is mostly when there will be an audit and the auditors will come, they will recalculate the personal cost which you declared, and they will ask for proof. You know, they will recalculate these day equivalents, and they will go into your timesheet and compare the data which you declared and what is in the timesheet.
Indeed. So to make a little fun here, that of course, please don't send your timesheets to the ESMEA agency. So exactly. So voila, that's many thanks for this. Very clear. We'll add that also as a, I think, clarification to the Q&A document. Now, the next question I didn't understand myself, but perhaps you do. Otherwise, we'll ask the participant to intervene. Is it necessary also the payrolls payment? Not sure what is meant by that. Do you understand what the participant means?
I think you have to take it into account. Of course, this is your data, the actual incurred data for each person for the calculation of the daily rate. However, we will not ask you to, I mean, normally you are not asked to provide, just like when submitting the report, any documentation. In case we need, we will ask it directly.
Yeah.
So
no, I understand. I also think it's that because probably it's the slip, the salary slip that the participant is meaning. So indeed, that you don't have to hand in.
Yeah.
I hope it's that, Anna. In case not, you can put another message in the chat. Now, the next question on personal costs is, each beneficiary can decide if they want to do the day equivalents per year or for the whole project time.
Yeah.
Question mark.
Yes, yes. I think for us it's much easier to check if it's one daily rate for the full project duration or full reporting period. But of course, you can do it. We cannot tell you that you have to use this or the other. Maybe it depends also on your accounting, how your accounting is set. What is better for you, really? I don't know, Jana, if you have something to add.
No, I think you said it correctly. It is up to you. And at this, indeed, at beneficiary level, if that's not clear, because I think the question mentioned at a beneficiary level. So yes, it is not at project level, it is at beneficiary level.
Yeah. Okay, very good. Next question on the personal costs is whether the beneficiaries shall enter a different line for the daily rate for each person based on the calendar year.
In that case, I think you will have to. You can just put name of the person and kind of 2024, name of the person 2023, and this will have to be repeated in each work package where the person has worked.
Indeed. Good. And then another one from personal cost is it mandatory? I know that's for travel. Sorry for that. Then let's go to the subcontracting. If I missed some of the personal costs, that is because I haven't yet copy pasted the ones from the last one. So I will come back to that. So let's go first to the subcontracting category. Here, one of the participants asks, a beneficiary has not subcontracted a task that was budgeted as subcontracting because it has been able to undertake this task with his own staff. Would this change require an amendment to the grant agreement or not?
No, I don't think so at this stage. Not really. This is more the case in the other case, in case the subcontracting was really not foreseen and it's some specific task which couldn't be done by the staff. So in this case, you will just write the explanation in the technical report.
Makes sense. Okay, then the next one is on travel. The next block is on travel or related costs, travel unit costs, which is the number of units for the subsistence cost category. Is it the number of nights or the number of days which you're traveling? I think you said it, Anna, but you can repeat it perhaps.
Yes, so normally for the accommodation, you put the number of nights for accommodation, and for the subsistence, it is for 24-hour period. So one subsistence means 24-hour period, and then you also again have to kind of round up or down to the full day. It always has to be a full day. It can never be a half day as well.
Indeed.
Maybe I will just add here, it is specified in the annotated grant agreement that the first day where any amount of hours will be rounded up to full day. So the first day of travel is always a full day for subsistence. It's a full 24-hour period. This is specified in the annotated grant agreement.
Good point. Yeah, many thanks. Thanks, Jana. Yeah, the next one on travel is related to somebody that asked experimental field work. They have multiple short trips to fields, greenhouses, etc. Should each trip be entered as a separate travel line, or can we group them under a single travel cost item?
It depends. I mean, how many travels? Is it too many travels? Maybe it's more efficient to group them together, especially if the distances were the same. So
yeah, I think it would depend on if the same rule applies to these travels. Let's say if they are all between I don't know, 50 and whatever kilometers, it is in the same country, so the same unit cost applies, for example, and they are the same length, or you can somehow calculate the length then you can group them. You just need to, in the description, provide some details that will make us understand what you grouped. So you will say, I don't know, 5 travels, this distance, this many nights, if no nights, whatever, this subsistence. Like, just provide some details in the description column so that we can understand better. But you can group if the same rule applies to these travels.
Then there's a question is actually already in the, I know it by heart, that is already in our Q&A document that will be published at the end of the year, but it's good to hear it again now. So costs with traveling from external persons, meaning not beneficiaries, I understand, should be declared in travel as unit costs or in other goods as actual costs.
Any travel cost is always under travel cost declared. So regardless whether it is personal or third parties or participants.
Exactly. Thanks for confirming that, so we don't change the reporting document. Okay, then there's one question, on other category, on non-recoverable taxes, such as non-deductible VAT. Can they be declared eligible?
I think yes.
I
Only
checked
the
the- I
deductible
checked,
VAT, you know?
Yes, I
Jana.
checked one of the old grant agreements for I3, and indeed, non-deductible VAT is eligible.
Good news for the beneficiaries. Then now it's, let's say the next questions will be a bit mixed because they're new and I don't have time to categorize them. So let me see. There was one on justifications of deviations. Should we describe them on a beneficiary level with exact figures in the technical report, or is it enough to provide a project level overview and the differences within budget lines and work packages?
I can take it, and if you want, I was taking note of the questions a bit. So indeed at beneficiary level, because as you are submitting the financial reports at beneficiary level, we are assessing them also at beneficiary level. So keep that in mind. And you don't need to provide justification for deviations that are 5-10%. We are looking at deviations that are mainly above, let's say 25-30%, and this is where we would be asking you for justifications and clarifications.
Thank you, Jana. Now a bit longer question from, I think, yeah, on the CFS, on the certificate on the financial statements related to travel and subsistence. A beneficiary says that in the checklist it's stated that actual costs are for C1, and this part is active for auditors to select the procedures. The part C1 of unit costs is originally gray. The question now is, the auditor can the audit travel unit costs? Oh, sorry,
I understand the question.
You can, okay, please
Yes.
rephrase.
So in principle, the question was about the unit cost for travel in terms of the CFS. So you would see in the template, it is specified that unit costs are not audited. So unit costs are not part of the certificate on the financial statement. So you do not need to worry about this. They are not covered by the certificate on financial statements. They are not audited. It is only actual costs.
Very good.
Just
then.
maybe to add that in this certificate, I think it's called this agreed upon procedure certificate, where we had a slide about these amounts checked by the auditor. That's why it's very important that the costs are split between actual costs, which are actually checked by the auditor. It means they are subject to this report, and then you will have the unit cost, flat rate, in case there is lump sum, which are again separately referenced. It means, I mean, that they are not kind of checked by the auditor, they are not subject to this report. That's why it's important that these amounts are correctly split.
Good. Then one question on software. Here, one person asks whether it should be generally classified as equipment or as other goods and services. I mean, the acquisition of a license, for example, because it's considered as an amortizable asset.
I think it depends how it is in your accounting. So you always have to reflect this in the cost reporting table based on that. We cannot tell you where should it be. Normally, you see if it's depreciated, the software, then it should be equipment. But maybe you can also send a specific question to your project advisor, and then we follow up.
Many thanks for this, Anna, because, and this leads me to another question, a general question, which I have unfortunately to negate and to, because somebody asked whether you can share the email address of Anna and Jana, and the answer is no, because your main contact person is indeed, as Anna says, the project officer. And once you contact this, then of course, then there will be a check together with the FO, and maybe Anna and Jana indeed. But usually we try to avoid too many email channels. We always say we have to go through the project officer. In case you're not a beneficiary but an applicant or any other interested person, then please go through the support facility email address that we'll share later. Okay. Then another question comes from Veronica. She asks, in the accounting records, we book the travel costs as usual costs based on the invoices for the hotel airplane tickets. But in the project's financial report, we report these costs as unit costs. Is this correct?
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Indeed. And that's a good point, because if I may also intervene here, because obviously if you book early, well, you have an incentive to book early, because then if the unit cost is higher than what you booked, then you make a plus. But I understand, Jana, Anna, correct me if I'm wrong, that don't has to be declared as a profit or whatever. So
No, it doesn't.
so
No, because our experience it is that in some travels you might get a bit less, and in some travels a bit more, depending on the unit cost. But normally it's kind of compensated.
Exactly. Yeah.
Adding everything together.
Again, it would encourage early booking, but as a normal life, you know it from your holidays. Okay, then let's see. Verle asks, if we have, for instance, 10 company visits that all account for the same amount of unit costs and have the same description, can they be grouped as one type of travel and declare, for example, 10 units of this travel type?
Yes, the answer is yes.
Clear answer. Very good.
You can just mention in the description 10 persons.
Yeah, very good. Then I think the answer is clear, but I asked the question, are there any specific rules for choosing the auditor as a partner? Well, although I said, I don't think the person means as a project partner, no, I mean, I understand as a service provider, I guess, or yeah.
I think normally here you have to follow your rules, internal procedures on procurement.
Yeah,
it depends on the amount, I think, but it's yeah, you should follow your own internal procedures when you select the auditor.
exactly. All right, then we have a few more. I think we're good in time still. Malgorzata asks a long question. I have to first well, let's take the short one first. Here from Sandra. Sandra asks how to deal with differences that we saw already now between the planned unit costs for travel and the description of the action and the calculated unit costs now for the same travel. Do you understand that question? Because the unit costs are fixed unless they should use one unit cost rate, no?
Well, I am thinking of the situation maybe of one of the first projects where in between, you know, the unit costs were increased. So if this is the case, because there will be projects for which
Yes.
there are two tables of the unit cost rates that are potentially applicable. The one that was originally in the original Commission decision, and then the updated rates. I'm not sure if the participant is asking about this. However, in this case, you always need to just make sure that whichever rate is applicable to your project, and in principle, you can decide whether you want to use the lower one or the higher one. You just need to be consistent. So you just need to use it consistently for the whole project duration for the beneficiary. Again, it is at beneficiary level, not
Exactly.
at project level.
Exactly, beneficiary level. I remember that also we checked that with our legal team. we will also mention that in our reporting document. But Sandra, if we didn't answer your question, then just add another message in the chat. Okay, then Anna asks, she doesn't have a clear deadline to present the report, and the auditor is a person assigned by this entity, Flanders Foods, can it be from the same organization or external auditor?
Jana, you have already mentioned it, right? When you
Indeed.
presented the CFS.
Exactly.
Yeah, so in principle, if it is a private, if you're a private entity, then you need to use an external auditor. If you are talking about a public body, then the public body, it can be an auditor from inside. It can be a public officer. However, that person cannot be involved in the financial reporting for the project.
And also, there is this deadline that we don't have a clear deadline mentioned to present the report. I mean, the reports altogether, technical, financial, and CFS, they have to be presented. You have 60 days after the end of the project to submit them.
Yes.
Through
so
the
CFS is submitted at the same time as the other parts of the financial report.
Okay, let me see. What else do we have here? How do we declare in-kind costs in the reporting?
I had a look at this. In principle, if you're talking about in-kind contribution, especially in the first calls, I checked only one of the first projects. They are not eligible costs. This can change from call to call, but it is very rare. I don't know, Eric, you would probably know better. But normally, in-kind contributions are not eligible in your projects.
Yes, it's meant in a way that they are cost neutral, so you cannot kind of declare them as a cost nor as income.
Colleagues, I confirm we haven't changed that, and we don't intend to change that unless you would recommend that to us. Okay, then Christina asks, traveling of external persons should be declared as other. Okay, I think we discussed that already. So indeed, you should also, for externals, you should use the unit cost that you use for the beneficiaries. I think that's clear. Then we have here, Ludmila is asking regarding the CFS threshold of 325,000 euros. Should it be calculated only for the actual costs?
It is not calculated only for the actual cost. It is calculated on the total requested EU contribution.
Good question, good answer. Then Ioana asks, for the projects that are ending or ended in October 2025, to calculate the daily rate, do we use the salaries for the previous ended financial year, 2024, or the 2025 level salaries, even if the year is not finished?
You need to use the cost incurred during the reporting period, so until October 2025, and they has to be actual. You cannot declare any estimations. If end of October you will not be sure about some, I don't know, I mean, nothing which is fixed or it has been already, recorded in the accounting cannot be kind of declared. It always has to be actually incurred by the end of the
exactly.
project.
So just to rephrase, perhaps that I understand it as well. Sorry. I mean, basically, you sum up the whole cost for that person, for example, and then you divide by the number of days worked on. That's the daily rate, and then you that's it basically. So it doesn't have to be per year, but just the days actually worked, wherever it is in 2024 and 2025. I mean. Okay, then let's see. There's one more, I think, at least. Did here the long one that I pushed back. I don't understand. In DCT, if whatever DCT is declared, no, I don't know. If the in CT is if a participant's total eligible costs exceeds the maximum contribution, meaning maximum budget for the grant, maximum grant, in requested EU contribution, we cannot claim more than the maximum EU contribution. However, in the financial statement directly in the portal, the maximum EC contribution still isn't limited to the grant agreement amount, but copies the total eligible costs. This way, the total requested contribution in DCR is different from the number in the financial statement. Can you comment on that? I don't know what DCT is or DCR.
I think that's the detailed cost reporting table. Sorry,
okay.
Anna. I think that it will be the detailed cost reporting
you're
table,
right.
I think, or detailed cost
Yes.
reporting. But I think we're mixing things a little bit here, possibly. I'm not sure. It is true that in the detailed cost reporting table, I think the requested EU contribution is limited to no, but it's not, because there's so you encode all the costs, and then you have the requested EU contribution is simply calculated as
From the total cost
from the
reported.
co-funding rate, so it's not there's no difference. It is just that the payment will be limited to the maximum grant amount, but the requested EU contribution, it is possible to have the matching number in the financial statement and in the cost reporting table.
Yes, and in case this maximum EU contribution was lower than the one, if you declared more costs, then no, all the costs which have been incurred, but they are more kind of, it calculates a higher maximum EU contribution. I mean, it will be incorporated in the calculation of the payment of the balance. Therefore, please declare like the total amount which you get. Don't limit it by yourself. In any case, it would be limited by the system when it calculates the payment of the balance.
Yes.
And it's also in your advantage to declare all the costs declared, as well as the requested EU contribution, even if it's higher. Because in case you have an audit, they will always take into account the total costs and the requested EU contribution. And in case they would identify that you have some ineligible costs, and you declared more than foreseen, it might lead to zero impact. So this is in your advantage.
Yes.
Eric, you're
muted. Yeah, Eric, you're muted, I think. Eric, we don't hear you.
Yes, now I'm back. No,
Yeah.
I wanted to say that indeed, and this can actually also happen what you just said, Anna, at the step before, so that some costs are declared ineligible by the project or the financial officer, and then you can use that option to check whether other costs that you declared are eligible. Okay, then I'm starting from the last, because there's still a few ones, and we still have quite some time. Here, so Daiva asks if the budget initially planned under the costs category A1 employees, whether it can be declared instead under A2, A3 for natural persons or persons under direct contract. I think it's a clear answer, but I'll let you respond.
Yes, it is possible. But again, if you can provide a comment in the technical report that this initially we foreseen that it will be employees, but in the end, the reason, what happened, why you declare a natural persons, for example.
Indeed. And just because I know that in my team, project officers face many times this kind of question, it's always good to tell the PO as soon as possible. Obviously, not at the end of the project. If you realize at the end of the project was the coordinator didn't, or one of the partners didn't tell the coordinator, then of course, but if possible, please tell us as soon as possible for these changes. That helps for the calculation later. Anna asks, for me, it will be useful, a list of all the documents should be presented for the justification. Okay, I mean, did you understand that question, colleagues?
I think when we speak about justification, at least from our side, we are asking about justification that should be provided in the technical report. We will not be, in principle, asking you for any extra documents. So it is really narrative justifications.
Yeah, just a comment kind of from
Yeah.
your side.
Yeah. Good.
And if it's not sufficient, for example, then we might ask for some proof or some justification. Yeah, but normally it's not the case if you provide kind of a reasonable explanation.
Cheriton asks or tells us that there are two partners in their consortium with 327,000 euros for EU contribution. Though if they declare costs right below, not claiming the remaining 2,000 or whatever 2,001 euros, do they still have to go through the? Do they still need a CFS certificate?
Well, is there any reason you don't want to go through the audit or the CFS? that would be our question, because it's a bit not reassuring, to be honest. And we would say that you should not do this, to be honest. Again, you deprive yourself of this 2,000 by your decision, just not to go through the CFS kind of certification, which is a pity, but
yeah, I mean, the reason might be, I'm not just guessing, that it's a cost, obviously. It's a cost as well, and they have to contribute by 30%. I mean, these are the first projects for that part. So, but
I would just add to it that, I mean, it is formality, but in principle, you also would not comply with what is required of you, which is that you should declare all incurred costs.
Yeah. Now let's see how we answer that question then also in the Q&A document to make it solid. We might check with the legals as well, perhaps, colleagues. Okay, then let's see. Here, one on travel again. If the two tables are applicable, I mean, can a beneficiary choose, or does it have to be a decision on a project level? And if the updated rate is applied, does it require an amendment or just a justification? I guess here what they
It's
need
about
is,
the travel costs.
yes,
right?
exactly, yeah, the different unit rates we had.
Yes, you do not need to provide any justification. If both tables are applicable, you just choose the one that you want to choose, and you need to be applying it consistently for all travels, and it is at beneficiary level. I think I said that before.
Yeah, and these. Okay, then. Okay, I think a question said, sorry, I meant in-kind contribution. It's not eligible, right? I think it's clear. I think we answered that. We understood you, I think. I hope you got our answer on the in-kind contribution, which is cost neutral, so it's not eligible cost. Okay, let me see. Have I forgotten any? Colleagues, if you... there was... No, I think... Are we through? Anna, Jana, do you spot anything? Forgot. Just checking online. Here's a new one. How to declare personal costs after the period ended. That is hours for reporting within the 60 days. Question mark. This is also, I think it's even mentioned in the grant agreement, if I remember well.
Yeah. So I mentioned that the costs related to the preparation of the final report are eligible even if they are incurred after the reporting period. So you will just simply encode them.
Exactly.
However, now that I'm thinking, if you're filling in the details of, if you're filling in really the details of the detailed cost reporting table and you put the date after, it would be nice to put a remark, maybe that these are the hours spent on, or the efforts spent to on the preparation of the final report, so that we don't ask back questioning why are you declaring efforts after the project duration.
Good. There's a hint from our colleague Virginie, and I think we can mention it. She asked, I mean, she says that indeed, initially you had an estimated costs during the grant agreement preparation or after an amendment. And we would not expect that the final report, the reality matches 100% the last update during the gap or during the amendment. So I guess you confirm, Jana and Anna, it would even be a bit strange that I've never seen a case where there's 100% match, between estimated and finally reported costs.
No, as you say, Eric, we would be very suspicious.
Yes,
if we
it's
see
a
that.
kind of red flag.
It's a big red flag for us.
Okay, which also means that you should now not change arbitrarily the numbers, just that it doesn't match the initial estimated costs. So please report the real costs. That's our answer to the question, I guess. Then Sheridan asks, it's a headache that the partners informed us that would like not to go through since the first day of the project. I don't understand this question.
I think it's a follow-up to the CFS.
Yes. Yeah. The 327,000 euro question.
Yes. But you said you might be consulting the legal team on this.
Yes,
Maybe
let's do that.
Maybe that's a good approach.
Let's do that, yeah. And take note of that for later. Then Ludmila, if the deviations of the budget categories and work packages have been already communicated to the PO during the project implementation, should it be entered to the final technical report?
Yes. Normally, this is what we do. I mean, it's a official reporting which is linked to the payment. So you have to justify the costs and the deviations. Because in the continuous reporting, okay, we understand that you provide updates on the project, but it has to be also maybe more consolidated in the final reports.
Mm-hmm. Question from Lourdes. In case our personal costs exceeds the foreseen budget according to the committed efforts, what can we do? Do we report the reality even if we are over the budget? Well, we answered that question. That happens because there is an underestimation of unit costs at the proposal phase.
Yes, absolutely. You report the reality. Also, because this links back also to the budget flexibility. So in a sense, if you report more personal costs, you might report less travel costs, and you will get all your personal costs, unless it is, I don't know, 70% more, then we will be questioning it. But these small deviations may compensate each other in the end.
Mm-hmm. Mark asks a question related to the certificate for financial statements, and he has said, even if we can declare person costs for reporting after the project end, how does that align with the CFS procedure? Because these costs obviously will then be, I guess, triggered after the audit is made. Or yeah.
I think maybe send a request to the project advisor for this specific question. We have a look into it internally and consult the relevant services.
We will check that indeed. Yeah, thanks for the. Yeah, that's exactly what I said in the beginning. These questions, you are our best contributors, coordinators, because you tell us the gaps in our in our explanations. Many thanks for that. We come back to you at that one. Okay, then let's see what have we got still. I think I'm checking online. Anything else? I think. Yeah, Anna, do you see anything else we missed?
I think perhaps in the very beginning there was a question about when does the reporting session open in the portal, in the sense that when is the financial statement available? I think it was at the very beginning. And I think that's more a question for you, because I think you opened the sessions, right?
Sorry, I didn't get the. Can you repeat, Jana?
So I think in the very beginning, one of the first questions was, when is the financial statement in the portal available for them to fill in?
Ah, yeah. Well, that's exactly. Basically, our minutes or hours after the end of the period, then you can start filling in. However, the templates are already available on the EU Funding and Tenders portal as PDF to consult, I think, but I might be wrong on that one.
And also Sigma screens are available for the beneficiaries to see what it looks like.
Indeed. Okay, very good. Looking at the number, I think we have, in case we missed something, coordinators or others, you can still post it here. Now there are new ones. I'm seeing them now, and we still have 5 minutes, so we can you share, if we can declare person costs for reporting after the project period, but we have also to go through the, we already said that the CFS, we will check that. We'll check that, how we do that. Then Bruna asked, to what extent can we group different purchases when declaring other goods and services, or other goods, works and services? Is it acceptable to aggregate several small purchases under a single cost item, or should each purchase be listed separately?
Yes, you can group, because I understand I've had this question from one of the coordinators, because you can be very technical projects with a lot of purchases of small and repetitive items. So yes, you can be grouping, but then again, we would ask you to clarify in the description a little bit, not just put consumables as a general term, but put a little bit what it contains, what we are looking at in the amount. Doesn't have to be super long, but something that gives us a little bit more details. And in terms of the references afterwards, then, because these detailed cost reporting tables, since there are all these details, and you would not necessarily know what to put if you group invoices. So there we would suggest that, for example, for the period, you put, I don't know, the project duration, or you put the period, the whole period where you were buying these items. For the invoice references, maybe you put from invoice this to invoice that, or something that makes sense also in your internal accounting. Because these references, it's not necessarily us that will be checking, but in case of audit, it might be important for them to reconcile.
Exactly, yeah. And perhaps as a reminder to all, how long can an audit still take place? I think it's 2 or 5 years. I always forget, after the project end.
I think up to 5, yeah.
5 years, huh? So
after
be
the
aware of
end
that.
of the project.
Indeed. And then I have a question here. The travel unit costs should be intended for the round trip, question mark. Indeed, I think, but please.
Yes, it's for a return trip.
Exactly, yeah.
But distance is calculated one way.
Voilà, so exactly. Then here I have one more from Dirk, High to Market project. Hello, Dirk. Does the detailed budget table also will be available in the portal when the project is? Yeah, I think we answered that question. Where the detailed budget table is available in the Funding and Tenders portal as a PDF document. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Anna and Diana, the cost reporting table is practically the same as the one they used for the grant agreement preparation or for the application.
It's almost, it's very similar.
Yeah.
It's very similar, but it is not only available as PDF. This Excel table is available already as Excel, so you can download it and you can work on it already if you want.
Super. I also learned something.
And you have the links available at the end of the presentation.
Indeed. Okay, then Julia asks, any budget deviations, do they have to be justified, explained in a technical report? Question mark.
Well, as we have said, that those are more like major kind of deviations, 25-30%, what we will be looking into for the full reporting period.
Exactly, yeah. Because I can tell you that, because I just did a report recently and verified it. indeed, in the checklist of the financial colleagues, there's the 30% threshold. If there's a plus minus 30%, then they would ask questions. So if you keep that in mind, that is a good a good approach.
Yeah, so for personal cost, it is plus minus 30%, but for the rest, it's plus 30%.
Yeah. Well,
if this helps.
Very good. Okay, let me see. I think we have only 2 minutes left, and then I see that, there's one more perhaps. That how strictly do you evaluate the person months usage on the work packages? The same 25-30% rule applies to I think you just answered that question, Anna. Right.
Yeah, but from the financial check, we look at average personal cost, meaning total personal cost divided by number of person months.
Yes.
Okay. So we don't, but maybe from operational side, you look at the variations in the staff effort per work package. On this, I'm not sure. In some projects, they do so.
And then here one more. Could we receive the list of supporting documents that partners should keep or collect for a possible audit for each budget category? I know it depends a lot on the type of beneficiary and the country, but while public entities follow strict and clear rules, it is more difficult for SMEs to know which documents they need to keep in mind.
You must keep the documents which will enable you to show clearly the link with the action, but we cannot tell you which documents are these exactly. So it depends. As we said, personal cost, pay slips, employment contract, payroll, subcontracting, the offers which you collect, then the internal procedures of the beneficiary, whether it has been respected. So it really depends. For travel costs, you can have other supporting documents again, etc. But you must be able to clearly demonstrate to link to the action, plus show the auditor that this is that the costs have been incurred. If you will not have supporting documentation for a cost, it will be declared ineligible, unfortunately. So you always have to have some proof of record for these costs, for any cost declared.
Yeah. Okay, and then I think we can stop here, Virginie, and that's a good transition now to the next block. Is that, Andy, there was some overlapping questions with the technical part of the reporting, so we come to that now, and if you have still further questions, you can put them. We'll take them into account and see how much time we have then afterwards. So Jana and Anna, I don't know whether you still have time to stay in case there are further questions, but of course I understand if you have to do other things as well. So many thanks so far. And I think we have really learned a lot also through all the discussions and the Q&As now, and we will take this into account for our Q&A reporting document at the end of the year. And I have the pleasure to announce 2 colleagues in my team, Virginie Perron and Milena Stoyanova, who will explain now the technical aspects, the technical report part. And I understand, colleagues, that you will share your own screen and it will not be shared by the i3 support facility. Is that correct?
Yes, good
Milena?
morning, everyone. Yes, hello. Yes, I'm just taking a minute to try to share my screen. Do you see my screen now?
Yes, we can see.
Okay, that's perfect. Thank you. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to this session. I'm Milena Stoyanova. I'm working as project advisor for the i3 team. And today, together with my colleague Virginie Perron, we're here to share some information about the final technical reporting with you. As Eric mentioned at the beginning of this session, we all know that i3 instrument is a new instrument, so we're still collecting feedback. We will be collecting feedback on the reporting from you, from the policymakers in the parent DG to see if the information is sufficient, if we still have to do something more, to adjust something. So there might be adjustments in the coming months, in the coming years, but I think today's discussion is already a good starting point to let you know what are our expectations from the final technical reporting. Today, I will start with a short presentation about the main sources of information that you can use. I'll give you some information, some print screens and tips for the part A of the technical report. And then I'll leave the floor to my colleague Virginie, who will be happy to share information about the preparation of the narrative part of the technical report, the part B. So let's start with the main sources of information. Some of them have already been mentioned, of course, by the financial colleagues. So there is a place on the funding and tenders portal with the specific I3 reference documents, where you can find a set of templates for some of the deliverables, some of the compulsory deliverables, like the progress report, the data management plan, etc. But there you will also find the templates for the financial reporting, meaning the detailed budget tables, and for the technical report. Another very important source of information, very useful, is the annotated model grant agreement, which is also available on these pages in the reference documents for I3. There you will find maybe answers to 90% of your questions. Even even for us, this is a Bible. So when we receive a question from you, very often we go to see there if there are some illustrations, etc. So don't read it as a book. It's a huge document, but if you have a specific question with the research function, you can go and try to find already the answer. There is an online manual which gives also a lot of information, in many cases like repetitive from the annotated model grant agreement, but in more concise way. And there is also a section called IT How-To on the portal. Again, this is on the FNT portal, and this IT How-To gives you real guidance with lots of print screens, where to push, how to push the bottom, what to do if something is disabled, etc. So very important for all your I3 related IT issues. And as Eric said already, we are also preparing a Q&A document that we hope to make available for you for the beginning of 2026. Here you see a print screen. So this is like the funding and tender portal, and when you go on the guidance and document here on the right side, and you choose reference document. So here, this is what will be displayed, and there is a section, subsections for the project reporting templates. Here you will find the template for the periodic report. This is a PDF document, so this is a template only for your information. Even those who still have a way to go until your first periodic report, you can already consult this document to see what's coming up. But the Word version, the one that you will go to complete, like you will be able to really complete, will be displayed in the grant management system, your own grant management pages, in a tab which is technical report part B. Here, normally on the first day after the end date of your project, you can go and download the template for the periodic report. So the Word document will be here. Just way back to the previous slide, not to forget to say that when you're looking for the templates for I3 and the documents, etc., don't forget here on the right side to choose the Interregional Innovation Investment Instrument and to put the relevant timeline of implementation of your project, because there are different templates for the different programs, so it's important to choose this one. Still on these pages, on the reference documents, you will find a link to the online manual and to the annotated model grant agreement. The IT how-to page will be available in the drop-down menu, but here you don't go to the reference documents, you have to go to the first subsection, which is guidance and manuals. And in this guidance and manuals, there will be one link to IT how-to. As I said, this is extremely useful because in many cases, even we don't know what you ask us, what to do, where to push, but we don't know because we don't have the same screens as you do. So this could be very useful for the preparation of the reports. In this slide, I put individual links for the different steps and topics. So share the slides with you. I hope this would facilitate your life when using it. And if you still have questions and doubts for the I3 part, please contact the IT help desk via the dedicated form. You will receive a reply. It's not just a form that will get lost somewhere. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time, but you will get a reply. If you have questions and comments about the content, what you have to write, what has to be included, is that okay or not, then the right person to be contacted is your project advisor. And now coming to the technical report part A. So what is the part A? Actually, part A is contains a lot of structured tables, deliverables, milestones, risks, etc. They're retrieved from the grant management system. How? At the moment of the submission of your technical report is a bunch of documents like financial report, technical report, certificate on the financial statement, etc. When the coordinator submits the report, then the IT2 will capture the information from the continuous reporting module in order to generate this part A of the technical report. So you don't have to go to a Word document or Excel document to fill in the tables of part A. This will come automatically. The continuous reporting module, I hope that you're all already familiar with it because you have to put your deliverables on a regular basis, you have to report your milestones, etc. But there are a couple of tabs, as you know, so let's go through these tabs quickly one by one to see what we expect from you. The first one, project summary. This is very important to mention that the project summary is not a summary where you will share with us the deviations and the problems you faced, etc. This is a summary that has an objective to promote the project. So it has to be clear, easy to read, meant for the large public. You will put only public information. You must include at least one picture, I think, in order to be able to validate this summary in the system. But you can put more pictures. But when you choose your pictures or diagram or whatever, please choose those that would be illustrating the work. A picture of a nice consortium meeting with people drinking coffee maybe doesn't illustrate your project results at the best. The summary includes 3 sections, well, context and overall objective or performed, and results and impacts. When you fill in all these like 3 sections, okay, again, you have to be concise. You don't have to write 10 pages. It's maximum 2 pages for big projects, 2.5 maximum. Here in this slide, I put some like questions that would help you maybe to include some useful information, because this summary is not only to say we did that and that with bullet points, and we created 10 jobs, and we had like 2 value chains concerned, etc. In this summary, it would be very interesting to see how you link your results to the expected impacts that were embedded in the codes for proposals that you're implementing projects under. So of course they're different for investment projects and for capacity building projects, but think, yeah, how your results are linked to policy impact for investment. Think about the 3 I's: the interregional dimension, the innovation dimension, the investment dimension, how they were addressed. It would be interesting to detect this in the summaries. As I said, we'll share the slides with you, but also keep in mind when you prepare these summaries that we have to keep the specific focus on the less developed regions, and we want to see how they benefited in all kind of projects. As a reminder, I put the expected impacts for the different calls, for the investment calls and for the capacity to building calls. I will not read all these expected impacts. You should know them, but this is also useful reminder for completing the narrative part that Virginie will be talking about in a few minutes. 2 other tabs in this continuous reporting are the deliverables and milestones. As I said, I'm sure you already complete them and you submit your deliverables, etc. But when it comes to submit your periodic report, please double check if all deliverables have a status submitted. There shouldn't be any pending deliverables, because otherwise we have to send the report back, etc. And for the milestones, also make sure that like the achieved milestones are achieved. Those that have not been achieved, please give a comment why. Also, if there were some like considerable delays, more than 1-2 months, also here, like in the comments for the milestones, is the right place to put why you faced some delays. But all this must be completed at the moment of the submission of your report. For the critical risks, okay, you all have a set of risks, a risk register that has been prepared at the moment of the grant agreement preparation, and that are integral part of your grant agreement. You have mentioned what mitigation measures you would use, etc. Before submitting the your periodic report, it's the right moment to go and to complete for each risk one by one. What is the status? Did the risk materialize? Have you applied the expected mitigation measures or other measures? This is quite quick exercise, actually. There is a lot of clicking. As you can see here, I put even one print screen how it will look like at the end. Don't write a lot here, just in few words what happened with this risk. You can also add some unforeseen risks. There will be a button like with a little plus in green, add unforeseen risks. Yeah, that's always interesting to ask to see if something else happened. When I talk about unforeseen risks, we do not expect to see like some small changes. For instance, one contact person of beneficiary 5, for instance, has been changed with another one. No, here you should put really event that might have impacted your action. 3 other tabs here that I grouped together are the dissemination activities, events and trainings, communication activities. Actually, all those are like lists of all your, well, dissemination, communication activities and events. We expect you to complete this by following common sense. Let's say you will see that when you start encoding like each dissemination activity, each communication activity, there will be a pop-up window with a lot of compulsory fields that you have to put here. I put the print screen for communication activities, for instance. You have to put description, target audience, communication channel, etc., outcome. Please be brief. This figure, like this information and these figures, they're mainly used for the statistics of our program. They are very important, of course, for policy feedback, but this is not the place where you will start explaining deviations, why this event didn't take place, why you didn't have sufficient number of trainees that attended, etc. If you need to sometimes to combine some of the events in order to avoid to encode a lot of lines, let's say in this, that's okay for us. Just put the information that is important in few words. We don't expect a lot here, but these must be completed. It's very important that when you come to submit your report, your periodic report, all communication and dissemination activities have status delivered. They can't be ongoing, postponed, etc. So make sure that all of them have a status delivered. Coming to KPIs, here, well, this is a tab again that you will find in the continuous reporting module at the end of the project. Okay, actually all along the project, I think, but at the end of the project, it's very important to go and to click on this link that will appear when you go to the tab, and there you will be redirected to another web page where you have to encode your KPIs. KPIs are different for investment projects and capacity building projects. For investment, you have the type of innovation, the maturity, TRLs that have been reached, the market readiness, how many jobs have been created, the investment dimension, the very important for us also the investment that have been mobilized, private investments, public investment. This is something we're really interested in to look at this data. In the capacity building, it will be more like a policy impacts related KPIs, the number of roadmaps that have been created, how many partnerships for future projects have crystallized from your capacity building activities, etc. So this is very, very important. You must complete it for the first project, for the first I3 projects that have started in response to the calls published in 2021. I think that this tab was not enabled yet when the grants have started. So many of you might not have a baseline figures. It doesn't matter. At the end of the project, you will still have this link and you have to go and to complete it. Very quickly on the financial support to third parties, as our financial colleagues said, this has to be completed here. All information about all individual recipients of financial support to third parties. You have to encode each call. If you had 2 calls for FSTP or 1 call, even if you have only 1 call for FSTP, you will have to encode it as a sub call here because it can't be done otherwise, technically. And then for each call, you will put all SMEs that have received support with the amounts that have been contracted and the amounts that have been actually paid. Even if the amounts were lump sums, it doesn't matter. You encode the amount that you really paid to your SME. Here we receive quite often question about the peaks of the SMEs. They are not compulsory yet because these SMEs do not receive direct support from us, but from the European Commission, I mean. You are the one providing them with this support. But if you are aware that some of the SMEs have peaks, and if you know which one are their peaks, then you can add the peak numbers. Yes, this is for the financial support to third parties. And of course, at the very end, when you go here to all this like list of SMEs that have received financial support and you manually make the sum of the funding paid, the figure that will come up should be the same as the figure reported in your financial report. It looks logic, but in many cases, like there is a discrepancy and we have to send the report back and to ask why there is a discrepancy. So make sure to double check the amounts, in particular the amounts paid. They're very, very important. How to submit the periodic report. So as I said, make sure that the continuous reporting module is updated, that all these tabs, like the information is correct, validated, etc. Then complete your financial statement, upload the certificate and financial statement when it's needed, upload the part B of the technical report, and then the coordinator can approve the partner's financial reports. The coordinator actually must review, explicitly approve the periodic report. If needed, like the periodic report can be reopened. Also, some of the financial statements can be sent back if the coordinator detects some factual errors or there's some like things that are really not well explained. Then yes, actually here the coordinator has a very important role, because the coordinator will make the final quality check of all documents that will be submitted to us before the batch comes to us. So all of you will contribute to the reports, of course, but the coordinator has a particular role to make sure that everything is okay, that there are no discrepancies, that everything is well explained, etc. And then you submit the report. I also want, yes, to mention that in principle, the technical part can be subject of contribution of all beneficiaries. Usually all participant contacts can contribute to the different tabs that we have we've just went through. But make sure that you distribute well the task, you know who works when, because if two participants work in the same time on the same data, the data of the beneficiary saving first will be saved and the other one will lose the information that has encoded. So make sure that you know who works how and when. Just to avoid problems, because we can't retrieve any data if you lose it. And yeah, here just some print screens about like the beneficiaries, or as I said, all beneficiaries can go to the technical part and contribute and then log for review, but only the coordinator here on the right side of my slide, only the coordinator can go and accept, include documents, and only the coordinator can submit the periodic report to the EC. And that's all from me. Now I will leave the floor to Virginie, and after that I will be also available for your questions. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Milena. Good morning to everyone. So now I will also say a few words about what we expect from you in the technical report. So I don't have a PowerPoint presentation, but I have prepared an annotated periodic report, because as it was said before, there is a template available on the portal. It's the PDF template with instructions inside the template. But as we will see, some of the things that are in this template are not super useful for us, so we are not going to ask them from you, but we have other requests. And I saw that there were already quite a few questions about where to report deviations in the technical report. So now I will tell you everything. So I will share this annotated document that I have prepared. So you should see it in a minute, hopefully. Yes, I hope that you will share. And sorry. So now you should see it. Yes. So I will just put it in full screen. So can somebody just confirm that you can see it?
Yes, we see, Virginie.
I can.
Great. Thank you very much. So this is so the template. So this is the document that Milena mentioned that you will be able to access from the day, the first day after the end of the reporting period, from the documents section. So it will be a Word document that you will have to fill in. So we will go through now each section and we will tell you more precisely what we expect to see in each section. So I will start now. Well, the first page is the cover page. So you will have to indicate project number, name, acronym, reporting period. So for the projects ending now this year or early next year, there was only one reporting period, whole project duration. For the projects that started now this year, they will have 2 reporting periods, but for the first ones, it will only be 1. So something important that you should take into consideration. So in this periodic report, for all the sections of the report, you will have to base yourself on the latest version of the grant agreement. So if you add amendments in the whole project duration, for instance, to add new tasks, to review your KPIs, for the budget as well, you should always base yourself when you report on the last version. So we don't want you to tell us what was planned at the beginning of the project, but really latest version of the grant agreement. So if we go now with the first section of this document, it's about the summary of work performed and achievements, the results and impacts. So I will put my glasses. So in this gray part, these are the instructions from the template. So I've highlighted some parts in yellow. So indeed, you will have to provide a short summary of the progress, the achievements. You should also report on the objectives that were not fully achieved, and you should not just cut and paste the project summary that you have to provide in part A that Milena explained. So basically, what we want really to see in this section is a short summary of the overall achievements, the overall impact, and including the objectives that are not reached. And something really for the Strand 1 and 2A projects, there were specific requirements in the call text, and you should, at the end of the project, show that you met these requirements. So there was one about the fact that at least 70% of the total eligible cost should be related to investments in companies. And also that no more than 30% of the total eligible cost or grant, it depends what was written in the call text and what you discuss with your project officer, but not more than 30% of the total eligible cost should be spent in FSTP. So you really have this, since these were core requirements, you should demonstrate at the end of the project that you met these requirements. So in this first section, this is where you should explain that you met them. So as I said, as I wrote as here, you will see also in the template that there is an option 2 mentioned here below, but it's not applicable because it's for operational grants. So it's not for you. So you can just delete what is not applicable. You can just delete it from the Word document you will download. So about consortium setup, so the second section is about participants report on changes in the consortium composition. And here it's written, see technical report part A. So actually you are not expected to write anything, because in the portal we will see the latest composition of the consortium, and if there had been any changes, there would have been an amendment. So there is no need for you to report anything. So then it's about consortium cooperation and division of roles. So here in the template, it's written report on changes in the way participants work together. Well, to be super, clear and transparent with you, we don't really understand what this means, report on changes in the way participants work together. So we would say that only report significant changes that your PO may not be aware of, which is not normally likely to happen, because you should have informed your PO of any big changes. And so if there is nothing really to report, you just mark it as not applicable. And then the section 1.3 is about project team, staff, and experts. So here you are, according to the template, has to report and explain deviation from Annex 1 regarding the organization of staff or project teams, and provide CV of key actors if required. So no, we will not require that at the end of the project. We don't want to receive CVs of people who would have worked. It's the end of the project, so there is no point of doing that. So yeah, you should have informed your PO of any significant change. And for me, a significant change is like a change of the coordinator, the person coordinating the project, or work package leaders, where the PO may ask for CVs at that time to ensure that the person have the technical capacity. But at the end of the projects, you will not have to provide CVs. Then section 1.4 about consortium, consortium management and decision making. Yes, so here you, according to the template, you are asked to report on important changes in the management or decision-making mechanism. It's the same logic as before. I mean, it's the end of the project, so we don't really, at the end of the project, if there would have been any major change, you should have informed your PO, so you can mark this as not applicable. Same logic for 1.5, project management, quality assurance, and monitoring and evaluation strategy. Yeah, report on changes to the overall project management concept, quality assurance, and monitoring and evaluation strategy. We do not really expect, our projects to drastically change the project management concept. You could have made adaptations, but it's not, the most essential part of the project. So up to you if you want to report anything in that section. But we don't really expect those big changes. And then, so this is where about deviation. So there were several questions asking where to report deviations from the financial side. So first, I would also like to say that you have to understand that the report is a mix of technical activities and costs. So you cannot consider costs separate than activities. So I know that our financial colleagues say that you do not have to justify deviations. Here in the template, we wrote 20%, and Jana mentioned 25-30%. But you also have to understand that for us, the project officer, if you make transfers between cost categories, between partners, it means that there has been a change in the activities. Otherwise, so we should be, I think really the good practice really is that whenever you want to change anything in the project that has an impact in cost, even if it's maybe less than 20%, inform your project officer. Because if for me, for instance, if you say, okay, we want to transfer 15% of the equipment cost to staff cost or the other way around, then if you do this transfer, it means that, well, there is a change in the activities that you will implement. If you have more staff cost, why? Will it be to carry out more activities? If you transfer staff cost to equipment, then even if it's less than 20%, then it means that you will buy another equipment, but to do what? So my advice is really to inform your project advisor of any change, not anything like traveling. You had planned a travel from Madrid to Paris, and instead you're going from Madrid to Stockholm. We don't want to be informed about these kind of things, but really, I think it's a good practice to really inform your project advisor of this kind of thing. So in this particular section 1.6, cost effectiveness and financial management, what we would like you to detail is for each beneficiary of your consortium to detail and justify per cost category all the financial deviations from the budget of the last version of the grant agreement. So then we can discuss again with our financial colleagues about the percentage. But as I said, if you said that, okay, we increased the equipment budget by 25%, then explain why. Why did you have to buy a new equipment? So it's not just about financial, you know. So also explain the budget transfer made between beneficiaries. So if you increase the budget of one beneficiary and decrease the budget of another one, why? To do what? You know, did the beneficiary underspend and why another one needed more budget and so on. And what we would like you to, so what you should know as well is that there will be for us a deviation report produced by the system automatically comparing the cost you would have entered in the final report and the ones in the latest version of the grant agreement. So for the cost, we will have this kind of deviation report with percentages calculated automatically. But what we would like you to do in the technical report is to add a summary table of the staff effort consumption per person months, person days. So with this kind of table, so this would help us to assess the deviations in the person months or the staff effort. So there was also a question about that in the first session. For us, when we will when we will assess the report, it's important also to understand why there would be deviations in staff effort. Why would more time be needed for a work package than planned or the other way around? So we need to understand that. So if you could provide us with this kind of comparative table, that would be great and very helpful. So if we go now to the next section, risk management, you don't have to fill anything because there is a dedicated risks tab in the part A. About the impact, so what we would like you to mention in this section is to report on the project adaptations if you made any, you may have implemented to ensure reaching the expected impact. And normally in all your grant agreements, in part B, in the description of action, there was a table with KPIs. So in this section of the final report, we would like you to insert a table with the final KPIs compared with those that you had mentioned in the grant agreement part B. Then about communication and dissemination, yes, there is a section in the technical report. Milena presented the different tabs in the portal. So in the Word document here, only provide a short summary. You can provide links to your social media, for instance, but the information about the details about the communication, dissemination activities you would have carried out are in part A. About sustainability and continuation, so there is a section in the technical report, but as we put in red, Means most projects, they have a dedicated deliverable for sustainability and long-term impact. So in this, if it's the case, just provide just a few sentences in the technical report, and you can give the reference to the related deliverable for full details. And then follow up to EU recommendations. So we do not usually organize formal project reviews for I3 projects, but we may have early assessment meetings with the Strand 1 and 2A projects. So if it's the case, and if we made some recommendations after the early assessment meeting or a midterm meeting, you can provide a few lines on the adaptations that you made after the meeting, if it resulted in an amendment. But no need to go into very too long details. And then we come to the core of the report, where you would have to report on the activities task by task, work package by work package, task by task. So for all work packages, you will have to copy this table, to insert the task name, to say if the task was completed, was partially implemented, or not implemented at all, which we don't expect. And in this justification, we would like to have a summary of achievements. So if task 1.1 was about, I don't know, doing a mapping of the local ecosystems on whatever sector, then you mentioned that this was done. What we would like to see is the contribution of each consortium partner involved in the task. So we know that some consortia are very big, so it's not like that we want like dozens of lines for each partner, but for instance, for each task you have a task leader, so explain the work of the task leader. If the other partners just contributed to the action by I don't know, organizing awareness, events, or well, it's just you can group for different partners who did the same kind of things. You can also group the task. It's just also that if you have associated partners with no budget, then in your consortium, maybe if they contributed to the task, you should also specify the tasks of the activities implemented by the associated partners. If you faced any delay or difficulty when implementing the task, you should mention them here and what remedial actions you implemented. And if there was a KPI related to this task, then you can mention it. You do the same for all the different tasks. Then you have for each work package section other issues. So here what we would expect you to mention, if in the case of deviation adjustments to what was planned in the latest version of the grant agreement, you should clarify the nature of the adjustments. For instance, that you for this work package you did more or less or new activities than those that were foreseen. That activities were carried out by other beneficiaries than those that were supposed to be involved in according to the grant agreement. And also you should mention if because of this deviation adjustments, other tasks, work packages were impacted, and if yes, which ones and how. Then regarding milestone and deliverables, you don't have to mention anything because it's in part A. And then in the template, there is for each work package, this budget, implementation, user resources, deviations. But since you have we ask you to summarize all the deviations in section 1.6 of this document, we don't want you to repeat them here. It's better for us to have a global picture under one section than under each work package. So basically, you do the same for all the work packages that you have. Then there is this timetable for projects up to 2 years, so you can update it. For projects of more than 2 years, you should also update it with the I mean, the real status at the end of your project. Then section 3.1 is about ethics and EU values. So if there were any ethics and EU values, any change, if you can mention them there. Security is not applicable. Then section 4 is about declaration. So here you have to confirm that to your best knowledge, neither the project as a whole nor any parts of it have benefited from any other EU grant. If no, you should explain and provide details. And here it's the same for, we confirm that to our best knowledge, neither the project as a whole nor any parts of it submitted for any other EU grant. So you should also confirm in the report. And what we did, we added a 5th section because probably there will be, there will be a request for changes. It's very rare that the first version of the report, the final report that we receive is perfect. So we all our financial colleagues may have requests for changes, for revisions. So we will have to suspend and to send back the reports for correction. So in that case, when the report is sent back, you receive a letter detailing all the changes that have to be made. And what we would like you to do then, to add this 5th section, replies to suspension letters, clarifications following suspensions. So here, please clarify here under how you address all the points mentioned in the suspension letter. So for partner 1, partner 2, partner 3, so clarification requested in the letter and how you addressed it in the revised report that you will submit. And if there is another second suspension, you just copy and repeat this table. And that's basically it, I think. That what we wanted to say. So maybe just as a final word, because it was not mentioned during this presentation today. So just to remind you all that the day following the end of your project, you will be able to start working on the final report, the technical and financial. You have 60 days to submit them. Then we have 90 days to approve and make the final payments, not including suspension, because if when we assess the report, we need to suspend and send back, our 90 days are also suspended. So that's why we really encourage you to prepare the best possible report from the start. Very important, the role of the coordinator. As it was said, it's part of your obligations, Article 7 of the grant agreement, to check everything, to review the parts that will be provided to you by the other beneficiaries, so the financial documents. But also you see that for all the work packages, you will have to collect materials. So if the deadline, as I said, is 60 days after the end of the action for you to submit the report, but ask your partners to send you to prepare the work 2 or 3 weeks before the deadline, so that you have really time to go through and check and send back and so on. So based on that, I hope that this presentation was useful, and now we will take the questions, I guess. Thank you very much.
Indeed. Many thanks, Milena and Virginie, for this very comprehensive and practical session, because indeed it was good to see also the templates that you will face when the system opens up for reporting. And I have good news, everybody, because we have only a few questions, and I think I'm not too optimistic to say that we might finish earlier than planned. Okay, let me look. We have, I think, 3 or 4 questions. The first one comes from Marlene, from I think it's the Digitpray project. Can all of the tabs in Sigma be prepared before the official project closure? For example, the project summary, the risks, etc.
Well, I can take that one. Yes, for sure. Yeah, that's even a very good recommendable practice to do that during the project implementation and not to wait the end and then to start encoding, because then you have a lot of work. So you can start the encoding from day one, actually. Just at the end, make sure that everything is there. That's all.
Exactly, and updated. Indeed. Well, last one, then many questions from Yasmina, two on the KPIs. She asks for the location and the type of organization, whether it refers to the consortium or the entities that you were in touch with during the project. And I think it's very clear if you look at I had a look now also again at the template. It concerns the consortium.
It concerns the consortium, yes, I confirm.
Exactly. Well, so that's answered. The other question came from Yasmina on the gender of the participant. So I guess you didn't know whether it's the gender of the project partner or the external, the reached persons. And as well, it's mentioned actually on the template. For example, it says persons reached, a number of persons, and then male, female, non-binary. Here, I mean, it's clear it's the external persons reached, so including the stakeholders, the SMEs, the users, whatever you reach out to. And the second box is about the project, because it mentions number of companies led by female leaders in the project, number of women-led innovations, and the gender balance in the project. So it's clear this box is clearly for the consortium.
But Eric, if I may, because I already had the questions from Yasmina, it's more about the difficulty I think that they may have in providing this information for the events they have organized, because especially for the non-binary, I mean, normally you don't ask for that. So I don't know what we can say, honestly, as a good practice. Just put what you can, and
Exactly.
if you don't know, you just put average, not average, but yes, because we understand really that it could be, I mean, we know that you have organized a lot of events of whatever types, a lot of participants. So if you have to calculate one by one, it can be very time consuming. So otherwise you just put half and half, I don't know, but I understand you don't ask in the form if you are non-binary or not. I mean, I don't know, maybe you do. Huh?
Exactly. So it's the best guess indeed. And I can reassure you, this will not impact whether you will be paid or not for the project. So, well, I think that you can really, it's for us, as Milena mentioned, it's overall for the statistics at the very end, I guess that at a very high level that the European Commission is trying to gather some data. Okay, then I think we have one more question from Yasmina, and that is, yes, so she asks also on the gender, but in general, I guess as well, that this requirement wasn't included in when you signed the grant agreement, and now you're expected to report it. And indeed, it's a big mea culpa. I mean, from the Commission side, the reason for that is that when the first projects joined the I3 instrument with their projects, we hadn't onboarded yet the KPIs in the part C, which you now fill in as an applicant when you do the application. But the system, once we had included it in the system, it was included for running projects. But I think it's, in a way, it's not too bad for you, because it will allow you now to report on your successes and to whom you have reached out, how many innovations you have made, and so on and so on. So take it more as a help for you, because I'm sure you would have reported the KPIs anyway in the description of the action if there hadn't been any formal KPI in the Sigma. So please use it really as a help and not as an extra burden.
If I can say something
Yes.
also, Eric, about KPIs. So maybe I didn't mention it during my presentation, because there are two KPIs part, I would say. So there is this KPI tab in part A that Milena presented, which is a standard KPI sheet where you are asked to report on certain things. But in all your projects, you had specific KPIs with numbers to be reached and so on, specific to your project activities. So in the technical part, so I don't remember which section it was, but I ask you to it's in communication, I think, impact. No, it's in section 1.8 of the technical report. I ask you to insert a table with the final KPI. So these are really objectives, impacts from your project activities, not the ones that are mentioned in part A in the KPI tab.
Okay, and I have to be a bit nuanced now on my optimism because we've got a few more questions now, and we will answer them now. We have still 80 minutes, so let me take the first one here. Ludmila asks about which part of the technical report in which part of the technical report the justification of the costs should be entered. But
this question was asked before the presentation, so I hope that Ludmila has the answer now. So it's section 1.6.
Okay, good. Then question here from Yasmina is asking many questions here. Another one from the KPIs on intermediaries, regional development agencies, innovation agencies, and another KPI. If a beneficiary is a cluster organization that is legally registered as an association, should we count it under both KPIs? Yeah, I mean, would you want to answer, colleagues, or I can as well, but
you can answer.
You can take it.
I think please do common sense is my answer. So please report it under one. And anyway, it will not dramatically change the overall numbers if you only report it under one. Okay, that will be my answer. Next question is on Yasmina again. What do you mean by this KPI? Number of intermediaries engaged in interregional activities. Well, colleagues, do you want to answer that one, or? I don't understand what the problem is with that one, because obviously intermediaries are an important element in the innovation ecosystem, and I mean, including innovation agencies, clusters, and so on. So you just named the number of interactions, the number of intermediaries you have engaged with during your project. So I think it's pretty obvious, this one.
Yes, the number of regional development agencies, number of clusters. I mean,
exactly.
That's an interesting number to us.
Yes, indeed. So Sandra asks, what to do if the number of eligible FSTP projects is lower than initially expected? The amount of money we can spend on FSTP would be lower than planned, and we would not meet the requirement of 30% in the end.
So I can take.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
No, in the call text, it's maximum 30%. So if you are lower than 30%, there is no issue. If it would be if you would have spent more than 30%, then you don't meet the requirement. But I would say that if at the end you are I mean, it's not that you had to reach minimum 30%. There are some projects without FSTP or with just like 10% of the planned budget that would go for FSTP. So it's based on what you had planned in the grant agreement. And then I would say, so if it was 30% of the budget, okay. If it was 20%, okay, fine. So based on what you had planned in your grant agreement, you should add in the report, say whether you met, I mean, what you had planned to do. If it would be much lower, for instance, you would have planned to spend 30% and in the end you're only with 10%. Then I think you should have informed your project officer why, and you should have discussed with your project officer to reallocate the FSTP budget to other activities. But then just this question, the maximum you could spent in FSTP was 30%. So it's not more than that. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Then
Maybe I can add something, because we
Yes.
recently had a discussion for this use, let's say, of potential leftovers in financial support to third parties. So the main line to take for these leftovers would be to put this money still in investment, either in the investments that belong to the consortium partners, or to if at the very beginning of the project we see that we do not need that much FSTP as we have planned, maybe a new partner can even join a consortium that would again bring investment or owe investment. So this will be the line to take in general. But as Virginie said, it on a case-by-case basis, you have to approach your project officer and to see if you need a formal amendment for that or not. If we talk about 5,000 euros that haven't been spent, or 10,000 euros that haven't been spent, you might even use this money to enhance your final communication activities or something like that. But it's a matter of discussion with your project advisor.
Indeed. Okay, then one from another person, Eleonora, asks about the deviations again, and what is the basis of calculating the deviations, whether it's the last version of the grant agreement. And there was a similar question from another person that can merge now as a question. She asked whether it's exactly this, the last version of the grant agreement, meaning could be also the last amendment that was approved, or is it, for example, a decision by the consortium to redistribute, for example, the money within the consortium? I think it's a very clear answer. Milena, if you want to give it, as I see you on the screen.
Sorry, yes, for the deviations, indeed, it's you have to look at the very last version, and Virginie said it also in her presentation of the grant agreement, meaning after all amendments, we do not start to compare with the very first version. And usually the deviations, well, the financial colleagues said that they look for like plus minus around 30% in general terms for instance, per effort used per partner for the project. But we, from the our operational point of view, maybe we're a little bit, let's say, stricter, and we look for instance, the deviations per partner of the effort used per partner per work package, because this is interesting to us. Why, for instance, one partner used less than planned in a work package, etc.
Yeah.
But it's always the last version of the grant agreement, the last amendment.
Very good.
If I can also say something, if you don't mind,
Yes.
because what I heard from my project sometimes is that it's better to have kind of amendment, or not to say amendment, but this deviation, because we are not requesting amendments for deviations, you know, when we say they are, you know, except when subcontracts are added and so on. But I also understand that for the coordinator and for the rest of the consortium, maybe it's better to have something in writing, not just emails. So I would say maybe if no formal amendment is needed for us, you as coordinator, you can also on a regular basis have this kind of internal, table, updated table with real cost allocations between yourselves, if you see what I mean. So also to avoid any possible discussion, because it's true that when it's in the grant agreement, then it's an official document. But since we are not requesting amendments for any deviation, maybe it's good in your consortium that you keep track and that you exchange, you share with all the partners of all these reallocations that would have been done.
Good. Okay. Then one from Sandra on the communication dissemination part. Perhaps one for you, Milena, as you experienced the first REPA, and I also saw the the tab in Sigma then, of course. She asks, are we supposed to document each social media posting or a project social media account or project partner accounts in the online tool, I mean, Sigma, under dissemination?
Well, I would say, as you, Eric, said, just follow common sense. Maybe putting 100 lines with each post on LinkedIn, it's too much, and it's really time consuming. So try to summarize as much as you can. For instance, social media, then hyphen 100 posts, and then that's it.
Exactly.
And then target audience, it will be like general public and public authorities and whatever, but try to summarize. It doesn't really work to put line by line.
Exactly. And then just a quick follow-up question on these intermediaries. Yasmin asks about what kind of partnerships besides the smart specialization S3 should be shown in this KPI. I guess she's referring to the intermediaries. That's my guess, because and I think Valentina gave, for my team, gave some nice examples of the kind of intermediaries and partnerships. So you have it in the chat. It could also include not only clusters and innovation agencies, but also enterprise network organizations, business innovation centers, digital innovation hubs, knowledge innovation centers, and so on, communities and so on. So I think, again, common sense, I mean, it's up to you. I mean, you will have to, I mean, you do the description of the action, you will only do the report. So for you, it's interesting to know what are it's your own, let's say, mapping you do. And let's tell us what you have been, with whom you have been in touch.
If I can say something about
Yes.
the KPI tab in the portal, it's important, but Yasmina and the others, do what you can. For us, really, the most important part of the report will be really the technical part, what you have done with the activity, I mean, with the work packages and the financial documents. So this KPI part, this KPI tab in the portal, as we said, is a standard tab for all projects, so it's not really specific. So that's why you have this question as well. It's very general, so don't put what you can in this tab, but I mean, put more efforts in writing, in drafting a good technical report and good financial report, if I can say so.
Indeed. Okay, I think we have a few more questions, but I think we could make it. One question is from Yasmin about the KPI on impact. Sorry, should we put the KPIs in the technical report? So not in the Sigma KPI section, under 1.8 impact or under 2.1?
Yeah, you can put a summary table for all your KPIs. So just the KPI table you had in your grant agreement, you put it under 1.8, and if you want, under section 2. So section 2 is section work package by work package. You can just mention, like, if you organize, I mean, it's not the case of CAP2B project, but strand 1 or 2A, you may have open calls. So you in this section, yeah, you can say, okay, we launch one open call, we receive 200 applications, and we selected 20 beneficiaries, these kind of things. And in the summary table, you just put just figures and so on. But as long as we have the information somewhere, we'll be happy.
Indeed. Okay, and then I think a clear answer from the next one, where the part A, so in the system and Sigma, must be completed also for the interim reports.
Alors, interim reports do not apply to projects that finish now.
But for the other project, yes, it's like
Exactly.
with each, actually, because when we talk about final report, actually we talk about periodic report for each period.
Indeed.
All this has to be filled in. Then the next period, for instance, if you put something in your summary, the next period you will have to go and to make changes to update it. The only thing that cannot be updated is, for instance, you put some dissemination activities, events, etc., with status deliver after reporting period 1. If they're delivered and you submit your report like that, then in periodic reporting 2, you cannot change the status anymore of those. But All the rest has to be updated for the next reporting period.
Good. And I think we have only one left, if I'm correct. And this is from Eleonora. She's asking because we had a beneficiary, as it concerns a previous question. They had a beneficiary leaving the consortium and they canceled the FSDP. That was the question about the consumption of the FSDP budget. So do these elements need to be reported in the final report, although already accepted during the past 2 amendments?
Well, for me, if there is such a major, let's say this is something really major, so it can be mentioned without details. If there is already an amendment, it can be just mentioned that as a reminder, because it's when you submit your report, it's not only the project advisor that reads it. We are a chain of persons that read,
Exactly.
so it's important that this very, let's say, impactful events they're mentioned. But without details, you can just refer to the amendment, and then the person who reads and who is interested goes back to the amendment and sees the reasons. This is for me. Maybe Virginie wants to add something.
No, it was perfect.
Indeed. And Eleonora also says, thank you, very clear, exclamation mark. So nothing to add. Colleagues, I think we can stop here. We have really now optimized the time. It's well, almost 12:30. Many thanks to Virginie and Milena, and of course to Jana and Anna. I don't know that they're still online, but let me close by just some final words. I think that was a great first step here for us and for you. As I said in the beginning, I3 instrument is still a new funding scheme, and we are experiencing a part of this first avant-garde who implements I3 and then now has to work on the reporting. And so any input we get from you and we got from you today will help us to make the I3 related reporting and the services better for us. So again, we'll share the PowerPoint presentation and presentations and the templates that we had. We'll also share with you the recording of this session, and we are hoping to have this Q&A reporting document by the end of the year or early next year. We have to see how quickly we can do that. Any question from you that comes now or hasn't been answered yet, please, if you have a project beneficiary or coordinator, ask it to the PO, your project advisor. Then we can. This will be obviously enrich this Q&A document. And then that's my final word would be to ask you to stay tuned on with your PO, obviously with the project advisor, but also with the I3 support facility services. There will be more webinars to come in the next weeks and months. And please consult the ISMEA website, the I3 instrument section, and there is a special website for the I3 support facility. It's really interesting, and the features are really interesting for project holders and also any other stakeholder and applicant. Many thanks to everybody, and I wish you a good lunch and a good afternoon.
Thank you. Have a great afternoon.